Hi everyone, and today I have some great news for collectors of novelisations. Today I shall be showing you my Encyclopocalypse publications collection. It is great to see a publisher take risks and try something different. Included in their range they also have some reprints, as well as some newly written novelisations of old 80s B-movie classics. The reprints are a blessing to those of us who simply cannot afford the growing prices of vintage paperbacks. Some film novelisations are over £100, and I thank Encyclopocalypse for reissuing these and to allow new fans of these films access to the books. It is a sad fact of life that rare books will cost, and some novelisations are increasing in price as they've been out of print but remain popular. Whilst these reprints by Encyclopocalypse will not please first edition snobs, some of us would just like to be able to chance to revisit these films in prose form, and not having to part with hundreds of pounds or dollars to do so. They mainly specialise in horror fiction, and also by bringing some out-of-print vintage titles back from the dead. Available in both ebook and print form, they also have an increasing audiobook library for those of you who prefer to have a listen instead. But best of all, they have produced some reprints of some classic 80s horror movie novelisations, some of which I will show shortly. Better than that, they have also published new novelisations of classic 80s films. The printed books are what is known as print on demand. This means that the books are printed and bound to order. This can make them cost a little bit more than your average mass market paperback, but it does give us access to books which would not have normally been available. In the past, I've not been a fan of print-on-demand books. In the United Kingdom, they tend to be slightly oversized and printed on bright white paper, especially the Amazon UK bindings. And they also tend to have layout and margin issues compared to normal books. However, Encyclopocalypse have issued their novelisations in a retro mass-market edition format to match the size and look of paperbacks as we know them. They are also printed on grey textured paper to give them the traditional pulp fiction look. It's easier to read in my opinion. Also, each mass market edition of their books has an alternative cover art to the standard edition. So I will now cut to the chase and show you my collection of titles that I have so far. Firstly, I'll start with the reprints, and I'll start with the Re-Animator by Jeff Rovin, first published in 1985. Directed by Stuart Gordon and based on a short story by H.P. Lovecraft. Jeff Rovin is no stranger to writing movie novelisations and tie-ins, and he first started with April Fool's Day, which was his first before he did the Re-Animator. He then followed up Re-Animator with some classic 90s action films such as Cliffhanger, Mortal Kombat 1995, which was based on the original video game, also Broken Arrow and The Game, starring Michael Douglas. The Re-Animator was noted for its gore and graphic references. The book has an extended cat scene, whatever that is, and I have yet to watch this movie and read the book. If I do, you can be sure though that I will give you a review at a later date. Like most novelisation writers, Rovin found that he had little control over his manuscript's final edit, with the studios having the final say and of the look of certain scenes. He had tried to include additional detail on Herbert's childhood, and also an epilogue for the surviving characters of the film, but they were chopped out. Sadly, it appears that he was unable to add this material back in for this edition. Now next I have Fright Night, another classic 80s horror film. Again, I have not read this book, but I may give it a go at a later time. The 1985 UK edition of this book used the common poster with the blue sky. This edition has the red sky as you can see, and a tilted look to the house. The UK edition, I think, was published by Star Books, and the US edition was by Tor Books, and features the character of Jerry Dandridge, played by Chris Sarandon on the front cover. Both these books have minor defects which kind of irritate me about the print-on-demand books. In this case, the common length indents to the texts, but thankfully the other Encyclopocalypse titles in my collection have normal indentation to the text. Next I have Vamp by Christian Francis. This is a new novelisation for a 1986 horror comedy movie, directed by Richard Wenk. This film is said to have influenced Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn. It features a movie cover and also a nice addition of black and white movie stills at the back, a nice touch, though for extra nostalgic points it would have been great to have seen them inserted in the centre as glossy pages, but of course we all know that that would have increased the printing costs too much. Given the larger page count than his other books, I think this may be his labour of love, and likely a personal nostalgic favourite. Next I have Creature, another Christian Francis novelisation. This film is an unashamed Alien rip-off. It was re-released in 2013 with a new title called Titan Find, but I have opted for the original 1985 title cover with some cool but strange artwork. My cover, as you can see, features the demonic dolphin on the front, and a murderous flipper if you please. It also features a Corporal Hicks lookalike with a pasted-on pulse rifle gun, which I don't recall seeing in the film. A strange coincidence or deliberate, I don't know, but after the release of Creature, the special effects crew were hired to work on James Cameron's sequel Aliens, so there you go. Francis has improved some of the story by adding the further inner thoughts of the characters, compared to the filmed version. But I know how much studios dislike the changing of the script, so there is some little flat cheese to this book, but then it's a novelisation of a B-movie, so you have to expect it. And lastly, I have Encyclopocalypse's latest novelisation, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Not seen this movie, nor read this book yet, although I have heard that this book is a great improvement on the story, by simply layering more humour and jokes onto the funny scenes. I almost did not buy this, as it's not really my thing, but to be fair, I really love this cover of this book. The red colour, the faux creases, the dog ears, the chips, they're all a nice little touch, and as probably some of you are aware, I do have a bit of a fondness for battered paperbacks. Although, as a novelisation collector, I do try and find the best condition possible. And inside you can see we have the mandatory sing-along lyrics to the song, not the cartoon intro lyrics that I grew up with, but those of the 1978 film. But I really love the look of this book, and I've noticed that Encyclopocalypse are now doing this with a few other of their titles, such as the recent movie tie-in for The Special, which has a mould and damp cover effect added. Now, being a bit of a book geek, I have noticed a minor but irritating issue with print on demand, which now appears to be UK based. UK print on demand copies tend to have a plastic cellophane-like covering on the books. No doubt a misguided attempt to protect the cover. However, it has a tendency to peel away after a few years of use, as you can see by this example here. Now this is a defect that is out of the hands of Encyclopocalypse, and so they have no control over this, and therefore I do not blame them at all for it. All my Encyclopocalypse books are printed in the Milton Keynes in the UK by the Ingram Content Group, who are formerly known as Lightning Source. This copy of Tomatoes is actually printed in the USA, still by ICG, but it seems to have no plastic covering, which is great and feels better in the hand, and therefore not going to peel. One quick little historical observation that I've noticed with the arrival of print on demand is the reintroduction of what is known as a colophon on the back page. The printer's details on modern books now tend to be found on the title page at the front, but old vintage and antique books once featured the printer's details on the back, and now we've returned to this way of making books in that respect. And anyone who's actually interested and wondering what the barcode is for, apparently this is used by the automated printer. When it gets to the last page, it knows when to bind the volume. So there you have it. I'm very happy to say that there is a publisher out there who takes movie novelisation seriously still. If you were a film novelisation fan, or just a horror fan, please do check out their website in the description below, and see if there's anything there that takes your fancy. That is all for now. Please remember to like and subscribe, and also to leave a comment below. Thank you and goodbye.